Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am best-selling author Beth Hildenbrand, and tonight we have JM. I'm backwards tonight. We have JM Celi uh, with us, and I'm so excited about it because I really enjoyed his book. So I am going to ask Jamie to take a minute to tell us about himself before we get, digging into the good stuff. So, Jamie, if you'd like to take over for a minute.
Sure. Yeah, I'm James Celi, and
Oh, I said it wrong.
no worries. It's the Italian spelling. It trips people up because phonetically it doesn't look like a ch.
No, it doesn't.
um, First of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this interview because I've caught some of your other interviews, and they always look like fun. They're just a good time, very organic,
Thank you.
not stiff or wooden or anything like that. So it's always looked like a good time for sure. But I don't know, I guess you could say I'm a relatively new author into the biz. I've been really trying to, I think I got serious with the craft probably around 2016 or so. And I had I've tried the querying route on a full manuscript that I had. I did get a full manuscript request on my first manuscript. Has yet to see the light of day. It didn't get past that part, and then I tinkered around with indie publishing, and in October of 2023, I released The Unlife of Lisa Cooper. And once I did that, then I was like, I gotta tell more stories about this character because I just had a ton of them to tell. So a lot of what I have going on is really centered around that character. But eventually I'm going to return to the querying process and throw my hat in the ring one more time.
Yeah, it's that's how I started also.
How you
Hi.
doing?
Hi, honey. Um
Doing all right?
uh wow, and it can be daunting. But indie publishing is the way to go. I think indie writers are going to take over. Uh, we're cheaper
Yes, we are.
and write just as well, in my opinion. I have read many books that are even better than a lot of published books. I've read some published books that have been like, who do you know that you managed to
Yeah.
get this book published,
Yeah, sometimes you wonder how things get out there.
Yeah,
So you
it's
never
like,
really know. You never know.
and a lot of published books seem to be okay, so you found the secret to publishing, and now everything is the same basic format. You change the names of the characters, you change the places, but basically you're telling the same story over and over.
Yep.
And and people like that from you, and that's how you're making money.
Yeah.
So it's like you've read one of your books, you've read all of your books.
Yeah, I think that's the death knell of, like, not everyone, but sometimes when an author has a series and they get 12, 13 books deep, you start thinking, I've seen this before. It's not, you know and again, not everybody, but some authors start to peter out.
I think indie authors know that, and so they work harder at being original. They try harder
Yeah.
and put more time and effort into what they do, whereas a lot of the big names and the traditionally published authors uh, say, "Well, I'm big. I don't have to work as hard."
Yeah, I mean, it's just me, so if it's no good, then I got no one to blame but myself if I didn't do the work. So
Exactly.
it's gotta be the best that I could possibly make it, and rely on wonderful and talented people to help me edit it and critique it and all this kind of stuff, and just hone it to be the absolute best that it can possibly be. Um, and hopefully people like it.
Yes. Carrie is with us tonight. Hi, Carrie. And she says,
Hi, Carrie.
absolutely. Um, Nina says, what is your best time of day to write?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I end up writing in the evenings only because I have a day job. So that's when I'm free. But it's not necessarily a better time of day, particularly. If I'm writing on the weekends, I tend to write in the morning or early afternoons so I can have the rest of the day to do something else. But if I put in a couple hours on any particular day, then I'm good. I don't really care when.
I'm a night writer.
Yeah.
It's just, I need that quiet time. And I have 5 boys. Uh,
Yeah.
Only one of them is left at home, but it's, I guess, a lifetime experience of just having the noise all day. I'm used to taking my quiet time at night.
Yep. Yeah,
So that's,
it's definitely helpful when you have solitude and quiet. I need absolute quiet. Like I can't listen to the TV, can't be on in the background. If I listen to music, it can't have lyrics.
oh no, I have to blast the heavy metal in my
Yeah.
ears
Okay.
when I'm writing. But still, it's everything has to be still around me.
Yeah. Yep.
But I need my music. I have to have my headphones going. Um, so hang on, ladies. I'm going to get to the questions, but first, I want to talk about the unlife of Lisa Cooper.
Yeah.
Yes, because she's fabulous. I love Lisa Cooper.
Oh, thank you.
And your book was like stories within stories. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that part of it too. It was like you got several little stories in the book
Yes.
that all puzzled together into the big story.
Yes. Yeah. There's actually a reason for that. The book it is a novel, but it's also an anthology of these episodes that were originally published in Kindle Vella, which is Amazon's episode based
Mm-hmm.
platform. It's dead now. But I originally published these in early 2023 and late 2022. And I wanted to put them in a novel because Kindle Vella is not very accessible to everybody, and it's also not a format that everybody likes. So I wanted to put it into a proper book. So that's why it reads like all these little plots and resolutions and new problems and old problems, and because that's exactly what it was. It was episode based, and I treated it like television, where you'd have story arcs and then a
Yes,
new episode and then a new season and all this kind of stuff. But it all ties together.
it did. I liked it that way. It was, and that's kind of how it felt. Like you were watching, a TV show, and then you got to next week's show, and then next
Yeah.
week's show, and it was really cool because I read like the first one, and I was like, well, the book can't be over. There's more book than this. And then we
Yeah.
went on to the next one, and I was like, okay, I see what's happening now.
Yep.
And yes, it was very good, and I loved Chewy. I got to tell you, I loved
Oh,
Chewy to pieces. Chewy is a very cool dog. Okay, in the book, so
thank you.
for dog lovers, you're gonna love Chewy because he was like the coolest ever. And I was thinking too, now there's something about this dog. And it turns out there is, but I'm not going to give it away. I hate giving things away.
Thank you.
You must buy the book and find out for yourself
Yeah.
why Chewy is so awesome.
I get a lot of love for Chewy. I got to say, like a lot of my readers are like, don't you ever hurt Chewy, or there are people that will physically harm me if I off Chewy or anything like that, heaven forbid. But I'm like, relax. He's
Yeah,
a good
Chewy
dog.
is a cool
Yep, we love
dog.
Chewy.
And you have a short story that ties in to this one as well. The Wicked Wood of Whitney Hill.
Yes. Yeah. So in the I can reveal this much. The in the Unlife of Lisa Cooper novel, there's a coven of spellcasting women
Yes.
They're not witches. One of them is a witch, but they're all different flavors of magic, and they all kind of come together and pool their powers to pull off these really great big effects. And the Wicked Wound of Whitney Hill is like a little side story of
Mm-hmm.
theirs doing a little thing, a little adventure. Lisa's not in it, but it ties into the same world and the ongoings of that overall story. And it's only like 41 pages. It's wicked short. If
Is
you
this
want to,
on Amazon?
yeah, it's exclusively on Amazon because I use their free ISBN. So I, it's only available on Amazon, unfortunately.
Well, I'm gonna have to get it because I did enjoy the Coven in Lisa Cooper.
Yeah, they're
They
fun to
were
write.
very cool.
Yeah,
So I'll have to go grab that because I liked them. They were pretty neat.
yeah.
And yeah, they. I don't want to give anything away, but they were very cool in the Lisa Cooper book. So
Oh, cool.
yes, I'm definitely gonna want to check that out. And now I'll get some questions going for you. Um, uh, which characters were your favorite to write?
Oh boy. Well, Lisa, of course, she's the main character. But I loved, you know, I liked writing Neil, who is the mortal who gets kind of tied up in all this nonsense, and he's like, he doesn't know that Lisa's a vampire, and he's just being dragged along, and poor Neil's trying to figure out what's going on around him. I liked writing Richard. Richard is kind of this antagonist. He's not really the villain of the story by any means, but he's a pain in the neck,
Yes, he is.
and he drives Lisa up the wall.
I liked Goofy Gary. Yeah, the little anime dorky dude. For some
Oh,
reason, he's only in
yeah,
there for maybe three little paragraphs.
yeah. He's got a small little role, but he was fun to write.
Yeah, he was just this little dorky guy, but you had to like him
Yeah,
because Lisa was like she felt bad for him. He was just this little dorky guy,
that's one
but
of
he was fun.
you bring up a good point because I'm writing a vampire book, and I don't know how many times I've read vampire fiction where the the vampire doesn't do vampire things. Like you have like, oh, I'm a vampire, and okay, great, but you never see them like drink blood on the page. They're not there's exceptions, of course, but there are some vampire books out there where they don't show the vampire being vampires. And I wanted to show Lisa feeding off people, on the page. And I thought that was really important because the whole point of Lisa is that she struggles with her humanity and to stay with her moral compass pointing north. So showing her feeding off of people, I'm putting her in that position where she's got a moral dilemma and feels kind of bad about it. So she's got to kind of cozy these people, and after she's done, and be like, okay, they're there, go off and make wise choices, or whatever, and make sure they're not harmed or anything like that, and make sure that when she's feeding, she's not losing control because she doesn't want to take too much and hurt people. So I wanted to put her into those situations to show people just how much she cares about life.
And she does. She's like, no, you go find a nice girl that just suits you. And it was just, it was a cute little scene. I really liked it.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that make a book. Are just those little, 3-paragraph scenes that will stick in a reader's head.
Yes.
And make them remember that specific book. and that was the one for me. That little scene with the Gary guy.
Yeah.
I have a son named Gary, so I hate saying the little goober Gary guy. My son will be like, well, thanks, Mom. I saw that show and I heard you picking on the Gary guy. But yeah, and you need to give your readers those kind of scenes because that's where they become emotionally invested in the characters.
Yeah.
And you did that very well.
Thank you.
Because you need to, they need to get emotionally invested in uh, well, for heaven's sakes, Lisa. They need to get emotionally invested in the Lisa Cooper character, and that is one of the places where they do. They see the human side of the vampire.
Yeah.
Yes, she cares for these human people. Yes, she's keeping her humanity when everyone around her is trying to take it away from her.
Yeah. Yeah. She has
And
everything working against her, really.
yes, I mean, through the whole book, all these things are trying to take her humanity away, but yet here she is with this, just average little dorky guy. But she has enough humanity left in her that she's going to tell him, now you need to find the right girl for you.
Yeah.
You know, and that was just a pleasant surprise in the book that stuck in my mind. And so thank you for that. That was
Well, you're
that was
welcome.
great for me.
Yeah.
I I really liked that part. And Nina has put up your link for everybody to find you.
Thank you, Nina.
And if you want to put up your link and pages at the end of the show as well, like, put up a little thing with your personal stuff on my Facebook page when we're done with the show, that'll be great too.
Sure.
Just like put up a post with all your goodies on my Facebook page. That's great. Um, let's see. Were there any themes or messages you consciously set out to explore in this book?
Ooh, themes or messages. I was always that kid in English class that the theme of a book that we were reading would just soar right over my head. The teacher would have to beat me over the head with a ruler to say, "This is the theme," and then I'd be like, "Okay." I'm not really good with themes. I think if maybe if there was any theme, it would be conviction, which is kind of the subtitle of the book, which is holding on to your own values and seeing if once you kind of go through to the metal of that being tested, you can come out of the other side and still be the same person that you were. And I bring Lisa through the ringer in some places, and she holds on to her convictions. She's not, she definitely goes on a journey, but she doesn't lose herself.
Are we going to have another Lisa Cooper book?
Yes. So right now I have yes. So I have the second On Life of Lisa Cooper book is right now with beta readers.
Okay.
I'm hoping to release it in the summer. I don't know exactly when in the summer, but it's coming. And I've been talking to my cover artist. So I'm going to have that all lined up. And I also have right now The Vampires of 1863 is out, which is a prequel to Lisa's story. It takes place in 1863 in Boston, Massachusetts. Lisa's only 3 years old, a vampire. So she's only been a vampire for 3 years. And she's not very good at it. So she doesn't have the confidence and the control that she has in the modern day. We get to see more of her creator, this vampire named William, the one that made her. So we get to see him. We get to see him on page. What's that?
He's bad. I don't like William.
So we get to see a lot of familiar faces that we see in the modern day back in those 1800 days. That was a really fun one to write because I had to really, it's a historical setting. I did a lot of research. Plus, I had to kind of rewind Lisa's whole state of mind and make her this
newbie.
Noob, yeah, exactly. So that's if you enjoy the On Life of Lisa Cooper, check out The Vampires of 1863.
I have to.
The second book will be coming this summer.
You have to promise me you will come back on the show when you release.
Oh God, I'd love to be. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yes. We will do a release show for you. I
Oh
would
yeah.
love to do that.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, and I'll read the other one in between. Absolutely. Send me the link for that.
Yeah, definitely I
Message,
will. Yeah.
message me the link for that, and I will pick that up. Okay, now I have more questions popping up. What research did you do for this book? And did you uncover anything surprising and fascinating?
Yeah. So for this book I had to I researched a lot of areas in and around Boston that I wasn't necessarily familiar with, but I wanted the story to take place in and around. So I know Boston pretty well. I'm from Massachusetts, but um, like I wanted to find like a pool hall where Lisa could go play pool, as part of the story that happened. There was one section where there was a big fight, and I needed it to be in the woods. This wound up being the Whitney Hill Woods, hence the short story Whitney Hill. And when I looked at it on Google Maps, it was this big green swath of space, and I'm like, this is perfect. So I had already written those episodes and published them on Kindle Vella before I really did enough research. So my wife and I drove up to Watertown, Massachusetts, and took a look at this woods. And all it is, most of that green space is a parking lot in a football field, and
Oh,
then a thin strip of wood flanked by all these houses. And I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. So I was like, I either have to embrace what I had already published on Kindle Vella, these episodes, or do some kind of retraction. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do retraction. I already said it's taking place here. So I built it into the story that these houses were like right there in full view of all this crazy supernatural stuff that was going on. And I had the cops show up and everything. I don't want to give too much away, but I had complications arise because I didn't do enough of my research.
well, that's the fun thing about books, though. You can turn it into whatever you want. It
Yeah.
doesn't absolutely have to
Yeah.
be correct, it
Yeah.
because it's fiction.
Yeah. I definitely did a lot more research for the Vampires of 1863 because I researched like women's clothing and kerosene and all this kind of stuff that just was prevalent. What did the Boston City shoreline look like in the 1860s? Because with landfill, we keep growing Boston and making it bigger. And I'm like, where was the harbor back then? So I had to pay attention to the street names and what bridges used to exist back then. So I did a lot more research for 1863 versus
Ooh.
The Unlife of Lisa Cooper. I kind of pulled from just stuff I know, because I live here.
I want to tackle something like that sometime. Most of my stories take place right here around me.
Mm.
There's just so much here. I live in a very old community, and I have Amish people and Mennonite people and all that kind of thing around me. Which, when you're writing occult horror, really, you can pull all of that
There's a lot.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot of fun. And I grew up with all this, my family was Mennonite. So I grew up with all this right in my face.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to pull from. And I don't have to do a lot of research because I lived most of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to, maybe after this book I'm writing now, which is called Hex, and it's about Pennsylvania Dutch hex signs and all of that folklore
Yeah.
with the Pennsylvania Dutch. And there is a bit more research in there because oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe some of the craziness. But so I'm doing a lot of research there. But I'd kind of like to go out on a limb and do something just totally bizarre next time, where I do have to do some research that's off my norm.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy research because, I'm always learning something. And I always like, as a reader, if I'm reading something and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because I'm learning something from some other author's, fictional
Oh
world.
yeah, I love that.
I love that stuff. So I'm like, you write what you want to read, right? So I'm like, well, I want to deliver that to my readers because I know how much I like it. So I want to do that as well. So if there's ever an opportunity to put in a little nugget of like New England folklore or coolness, I'm definitely going to put it in.
Oh, that's why I like writing around about stuff around here. There's just so much interesting stuff, and people get caught up in my town.
Yeah.
I mean, they get used to my town, and there are so many bizarre things in this town that that people will actually in reviews say, "Oh, Adamstown," because it's in the book all the time.
Yeah.
People seem to like my crazy little town, and I think that's cool that people get into it. So I like being able to do that, have people talk about my goofy little town because a lot of the things that I write about are real in this goofy little town.
Yeah.
We do have this woman who rides this little tricycle through town with a skeleton man sitting behind her with his arms wrapped around her waist, and she'll have
Oh,
a different hat on his head, depending on whatever season it is. And there they go up and down the streets,
wow.
and just bizarre things, just totally bizarre things. And yeah, it's just part of town.
That's
And
great.
I love it. So, enough about me. Let's get to some more questions. If you could meet any of your characters, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh, wow. What a question. I mean, I'd love to meet Chewy. He's a dog. um, honestly, he's a good boy. I don't know. That's a tough question. Um, I feel like it would probably be Lisa. Who I would talk to because I'd want to really talk about like how she's feeling, how she work. How she's struggling with her curse and all this kind of stuff. Like, is she all right? Because I think on some level I'd worry about her.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's kind of a hot mess sometimes. Uh,
Yeah.
okay. Are there any characters that you relate to on a personal level?
Oh God. Yeah, absolutely. Lisa for one. Lisa for one and Neil for the other. So Lisa was born of this sort of uh, experiment, in my head of, what would I do if I became a vampire? Because when everyone's like, oh, vampires, and they show them in movies, and a lot of times they're vampires, these like, and brooding kind of dark edge lords, like, and that's great. And vampires of any supernatural creature can pull that off perfectly. But I think to myself, like, wait, does everyone who's bitten just become this kind of guy? Like just this brooding, dark, suave, I would be a hot mess. I would
Yeah,
be like, what do
they
I do? This is a nightmare and I don't want to hurt anybody, So I think I would be a little bit like Lisa with my compassion and that sort of thing. And then Neil is kind of, he's just a good stand-up guy that wants to take care of the people that he cares about. And he is always trying to do right by Lisa, but even though he doesn't understand what's going on, especially if there is a small romantic arc I can reveal. It's not a romance by any means genre, but if I'm the POV I'm writing from is female, I had to really flip things over. And so when I'm writing Neil's part, I'm putting myself into that because that's the male in the relationship, So yeah, there's a little bit of me in both Lisa and Neil for sure.
I often wonder, are vampires just born with the black silk shirt
Yeah.
and the and the leather pants and
Yeah.
the long black hair
Exactly.
and
They get a new
and
wardrobe. It's like,
puffy
welcome to the
red
club.
lips and yeah.
Here's a billowing shirt, and some tight black pants. And here you go.
Yeah.
You know, here's your new sleek
Oh,
car.
and the cape. They
The
must
cape,
have the
you got to
cape.
have that, all this.
Yes. Are they always born like that? They just, when they wake up on the first day as a vampire, the ensemble's already ready for them.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my. Wish I would wake up in the morning fully dressed and looking hot. That would be great. I wake up more like in footy pajamas and Phyllis Diller hair. I
Yeah.
doubt anybody remembers who Phyllis Diller is anymore
Yeah,
but
I
me.
do. Yeah. Honestly, I picture not that I show this on the page, but I picture Lisa going out, maybe she's hunting and maybe she dresses nice to go out to a club somewhere and find someone and feed for the night to get her nourishment, because she's a vampire. She has to drink blood. But then she goes home and she puts on sweatpants and she watches TV because it's comfortable and she doesn't need to, all the women I know in my life just want to go home and take off their bra and be comfortable. And
Yes.
right. And I'm like, why would Lisa be any different just because she's a vampire?
Yeah, anyway, I mean, vampire women have got to find bras as uncomfortable as the rest of the world. I agree.
I mean, I don't know, but that's what everyone says. So I have to believe that won't change. Like there's something. And besides, it's supposed to be a curse. It's not supposed to make things better for you. Like
I know after 3 days of shows, I'm like, Jammy night. Yay! I don't have to look good tonight. I can just sit in my jammies and work on my book.
Yeah.
Just sit there all slumped up and work on my computer. Nothing else. Yay, me. So, yes, I do know exactly what you mean. And I'm sure Lisa enjoys that too.
Yeah.
Just because she's a vampire don't mean she doesn't want to be comfy.
Right. Everyone wants to be comfy.
Exactly. And I know, being a frump every now and then is a good thing. Oh.
Yep.
I was like, okay, the last 2 days I had to go out yesterday morning. I had to go out this morning, and then I came home and I passed out, which meant that I had to completely wash my face and reapply my makeup twice in 2 days because I had a show last night and a show this night and tonight. And I'm like, wow, that's like makeup 4 times in 2 days.
Yep.
Damn. I'm really looking forward to Frump Day tomorrow. Really. Yeah, I just don't
Definitely
look like this all by myself. It takes just a minute of work. Yeah. And the older I get, the more minutes.
So frump days are good. We like frump days.
We like Frump Days. Yeah. Okay, now that I've said all that, let's see. We're time up. Crap. I have been enjoying this show.
Me too. This is a good time.
I have had a great time talking to you. So, here on the show, Nina has put up your links, and you're going to put up a post with all your stuff on my Facebook channel. And we will have you back when the new book comes out.
Oh, looking forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
And you're going to send me that link so I can get the other one, because I can't wait to find out about a noob Lisa. That is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you everybody for tuning in. And if you want to see any past shows, tune into the YouTube channel where you can find all of our past shows. We're thank you so much for being on the show. It has been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. This is a good time. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, so did I. And I'm going to say goodnight. And if you could hang on just a minute after we say goodbye.
Sure.
So everybody, we will see you Saturday morning. And have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.